till 6 o'clock.
Made it harder, maybe it'll switch.
All right, to call meeting to order. Roll call, everybody's here but Lori. Oh, shoot, and Pep. Still have 4, so we have quorum. Public comments.
Try now. Tap on. Oh, yeah,
All right, good enough. Joel Cree, 300 Joshua Tree. I just wanted to address the board. I've been meaning to do this for a bit, but I just wanted to inquire about a few items in the Park Point Park and just mill it on your own, but would like to get an update on the fishing pier, the gravel path, possible lighting. And I got a couple more. I'll get back to it, but the playground equipment, and it's on most of the general neighbor's mind. Playground equipment's 27 years old. It's the original equipment, and a subdivision of 101 single-family homes with families and kids. We'd like to see if there's any room down the road in your discussions to expand some of the amenities in the park in the third ward, seeing that it's the only park in the third ward. And to be clear, not just for Park Point, we'd like that open for the public and streets that directly affect it to the west. That's pretty much it. So I'd appreciate your time looking into it. Take your time. If you have any questions, please reach out to me or anyone in the neighborhood. You guys have any questions at this time for me? No? Then I appreciate your time and consideration. Thanks a lot.
Yes? Anybody else? No. Okay. Let's move on to the minutes from October 21st. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion of the Shadow Creek surplus property.
All right, board members, there's a memo in your packet that kind of discusses the city's recommendations, and then along with the information from the developer, as well as that survey and proposed ordinance.
You got any comments on what's been presented?
Well, I just want to express my concern that that we haven't. I mean, I get it. You know that once we post, if we do this, once we post it, advertise it, that then the neighbors will know what's going on. But I'm disappointed that we didn't, that we chose not to reach out to the neighborhood to let them know that we were considering this, and to see if perhaps they had other thoughts on the property.
Well, we've been talking about this for, what, a year and a half?
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
We haven't hidden anything.
no, but I would assume that most people in the neighborhood are not reading the minutes or watching. I mean, we weren't even televised back when you first talked about this. And it hasn't been to the council, just this committee. So
I would move to approve declaring the two parcels as surplus, divided as suggested by the surveyor, and placed up for auction at a base price of $10,000, proceeds of which are divided equally between the Parks Capital Improvement Fund and the General Fund.
Take a second.
Are we bringing it up to council?
So the motion is to recommend this
Stand
to the full
corrected.
council. So, Scott, if you can adjust your motion appropriately. and then,
I will amend my motion to declare that that is my recommendation to the city council. Good enough?
Second.
You can?
I'll second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Oh, roll call.
I would recommend you take a roll call vote for that. And then also, just make sure there was no other questions or comments. That's all.
Any other questions or comments on this?
I would be curious what other expenses have been incurred, for instance, the related to the city engineer. I'm sure he didn't do that for free.
No, I'm sure there was some
Yeah.
costs associated with it.
Yeah, and legal. There's just the costs here regarding the survey.
We can, depending upon the outcome of the motion, we can present that to council.
Thank you.
Scott Logan?
Yes.
Rosa?
I don't know, so just say no.
Lori?
Or Lisa Haderlein?
Or Lisa Haderlein?
It's okay. No.
Lavallee, yes. 2-2.
Motion fails for
So
lack of a
motion fails
majority.
without a majority, so can, at this juncture, either come back to your committee at a later date or whatever you decide.
All right. Let's put this off until next month.
Okay, well, we can add it back to the agenda next month if that's what you wish.
That's where I move.
All right.
It's okay.
Okay, let's move on to the discussion action on the quote-unquote small mini recreation center.
All right, thank you, Chairman. So, as I discussed last meeting, I have engaged a number of business owners in town about possibly leasing space. The core issue here is that we, in the last 5 months, have significantly increased the amount of programming that the city offers to our residents. And I think, do you have those figures of how many people we have in terms of programming?
Yeah, we had 106 program registrations.
Thank you. And then, of course, the city, at your direction, council's direction, has invested in new software to accommodate residents' ability to sign up for the programming quite easily. So, when researching the available space within the community to consider as a lease option, we found at least 2 or 3 spaces that might work for the city, but there's some significant barriers moving forward with any of those particular facilities. Number one, None of the landlords would be willing to sign a triple net lease. And so what that would mean is that the onus of mechanicals and repairs to the building itself, beyond just the build out, but anything like a roof or AC or heating, plumbing, all of that would fall on the leasee or the city, should we were to lease that space. The size of space that we looked at, or I should say I discussed, I haven't actually physically looked at all of the spaces, but we're in the range between about as low as 1,600 square feet up to, I think, 2,200 square feet. In all those cases, we were looking at a dollar amount of lease, which would be in the neighborhood of about $1,200 a month. So that was kind of the expectations, is that we would try to find one of those spaces that made the most sense, would cost the least amount of money for us to bring on to build out, and also reviewing the actual mechanicals of those particular sites to try and ward off, any immediately known issues that the city would undertake. So while kind of doing some of that due diligence, at the same time, city staff took some time to review to see, well, what could the city do if the city did this internally instead of spending money on a lease that we are updating someone else's building? Could the city do something of their own so that any money invested into that building would be owned by the city versus updating a building for a business owner that's a private entity? In so doing, the city was able to kind of determine that we could build a rather modest space, and when looking at it, they were looking that they could put this basically adjacent to the current city pool facility. There's some reasons why that makes a lot of sense beyond just having the space to do new programming. It would also double as additional space for parties at the pool, where the pool patrons currently, our amount of parties at the pool host are always been somewhat small, because either A, they have to rent the entire facility for a private party, or if they do a party during normal pool hours, there's no real good way to segregate your attendees to your party from the regular populace that would be at the pool at the same time. So such a facility could allow that space to be utilized in addition to an open space at the moment that we don't have any space to do, where they could have a private party that is segregated from the rest of the populace that are attending the pool. Another issue, or I should say addition for the facility, would be that it can also serve as a cooling and warming center for inclement weather, which we currently do not have a space that could hold as the number of people that such a space could hold. And lastly, it's conveniently located in a park that is very widely used by the community and in close proximity to the senior center, so that the senior center could actually utilize the space as well, among other programming projects. The proposal, and again, this is clearly just a proposal, would incorporate a space, a wide open space that would incorporate a single neutral gender restroom, a small kitchen, and storage area. The rest of it would be wide open for use of activities. The funding to fund this would come from a couple of funding sources. Number one is the CURES program, which was a grant that the city received during the pandemic, which really all municipalities had an opportunity to apply for this grant funding. When that grant funding was brought to each municipality, there were certain criteria that were available for that funding. And so we submitted right away all of the criteria that we felt the city was eligible. At the same time, we were contacted by the county as well as our state representatives who stated that, the city actually had additional funds available to them under this grant, under the Cures grant, that we did not apply for initially. And frankly, we didn't apply for it because we didn't believe that we had the eligibility requirements met to be eligible for that funding. However, the county and state officials begged to differ with us and basically highly recommend the city apply for the funding. So we did. We applied for that funding, and the funding that we felt was absolutely eligible, we reimbursed the budget for that particular year for that funding that was brought in. So to reimburse for additional funds that we had not planned for from the pandemic. The remainder of that funding was then set aside and put into a CD because we wanted to be sure that should the state conduct an audit and decide they wanted to claw back that funding, that we didn't spend it and didn't have it anymore. So that funding has been sitting in CDs for this a couple of years, and the maturity of that CD is coming due. That would be the base for funding to be able to accomplish this modest rec center, mini rec center. Additionally, it would not pay for the full amount to build the rec center. Our current estimates for this modest space would exceed that funding. However, the city is also looking at entering into a contract with AT&T to put up another cell tower. And as part of that cell tower revenue that the AT&T would pay for to the city, the staffing is recommending to split that funding between the Parks Fund and part of it to go to the revolving loan fund for community development. And that funding alone would pay off the remainder of the debt that would be created to build this facility. So essentially, you could build a facility, again, a modest facility, to be able to expand our programming within the next fiscal year if you decided to pursue this and not raise any taxes and not deal or take away from any current budgeted item. The programming itself and any rental of the facility could then help defray the operating cost of the facility beyond the debt service to build the facility.
Mayor, one thing that's mentioned in this memo is that the staff is currently negotiating another wireless tower lease.
That's correct.
So it's not a done deal.
It is not a done deal, other than signing the papers, essentially. I think the
all right.
negotiation was trying to accommodate, or I should say, get the best deal for the city as possible.
Okay.
And we're very close to a contract. Of course, when we finally have that deal done, it will come to the city council for approval. But this is a mechanism that would allow you to move forward with this project.
And where you mentioned adjacent to the pool facility, whereabouts?
Sure, let's look at that on the.
I was just looking at it on my
Sure.
phone.
We can pull up Athena and show that to you. Excuse me. So the idea would be to build this building basically right here,
Oh,
which essentially would take where the old sand, the sand pit was. we would create a breezeway between that building and the existing pool house, so that there is an opportunity on the one door for pool patrons to enter the building. The main entrance would be on the front of the building, which would face the pavilion.
Okay.
So the,
Is there a door on the east side of the pool building there?
on the east side here,
Yeah.
there is not, no. No, there's just, right here is a concession window, but there is no door.
So to get from the pool building to this proposed building, you'd come out the front of the pool building, the north side, and walk across.
You could come out of the building, come across, and enter the building here, but there will also be a side door building that's inside of the pool area. So you could enter from the side from the pool.
So this $250,000 can be used for anything?
Yes?
Was it always going to be targeted for the parks, or was it,
There was no target for it, although, in my mind, it would have been great to utilize as seed money for a facility, but it's not been earmarked for anything because, it's been sitting there waiting to ensure that nobody wanted it back.
and what about, for lack of a better word, deferred maintenance at all our other parks that we need money for, we never seem to have money for, and it seems like to me now we have money for?
That's up to you and this committee and full council to decide how you want to spend that money. I would submit that the community has been seeking an indoor facility for greater than the 10 years that I've been serving the city. And in fact, it is in the city Parks Master Plan.
Actually, it's not.
Actually, it is, sir.
It was taken out, if I
Yeah,
remember
it was,
correctly.
a big red X was,
The budget
Drawn
was
through it.
removed from the master plan. However, the master plan does say the Parks Master Plan does not include an indoor recreation center, although such a facility is shown in Figure 10, Lines Park Improvements. The cost of such a facility exceeds that which could be realistically expected to be raised based on the current budget conditions. Recognize this was made in 2015. This does not mean, however, that the goal of building an indoor recreation center should be abandoned. Rather, this plan recommends that the city, the youth organizations, the Harvard Parks Foundation explore alternatives for securing the funds needed for the indoor recreation center through increased tax revenue, grants, cost sharing with the schools and hospital, and private fundraising. Once the feasibility of building the indoor recreation center is raised, a separate study should be undertaken to define the programming needs for the facility.
okay, so, but this is being proposed without a plan for the size of the facility for, I mean, I'm looking at, so the footage, the usable footage would be about just under 1,200 square feet of the facility. We don't have any information on what the alternatives are. So we're just being presented with one thing here. We don't have any information on the lease opportunities and what those would entail and what those would cost, other than some general statements about 1,600 to 2,200 square feet and about 1,200 a month for leasing. So I personally feel like I don't have enough information. I also have no idea what these two handouts are.
That's the money from the Cures grant.
Well, it makes it look like there isn't money. I mean, the way this is written, January 26th, 2022, payroll, public safety employees, $244,444.11. And then total allocated 389,717.02, balance remaining 0. I mean, there's nothing on here that says that 244 was put into a CD. I mean, it's just me looking at this, it just looks like that was paid for public safety employees.
That is the amount that the grant reimbursed the city for,
The 244,
the total amount there.
the 389.
389
Okay, so where's this 250?
is in a CD.
But what does any of this paperwork have to do with
All this
the
paperwork does is
250?
show you where the money came from. Came from the CURES grant.
Well, and it's the CARE grant,
It's
is
the
what
CURE
Lou
grant.
corrected
Yes,
me.
it is actually the CURE grant as
Okay, so
defined
Lou
by the
was
state of
wrong.
Illinois. He
Because
was, yes.
Okay, because I had asked about that, and he said, no, it's the CARES grant. So it's a CURE grant from the state. Yeah, I mean, and, you know, we do our budget workshop in February and put together things for the coming,
Indeed, so this
Here.
is being presented to you to consider so that the staff can do their due diligence to present to you in the budget workshop. So at this juncture, they have done preliminary information, but to move forward with this project, if this committee and the council decides to, they need permission to engage our engineer to determine does their proposal make sense?
well, personally, I'd still like to see some outline of the alternatives.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I can't, I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense to make a decision on one, this is one option.
it is one
This is
option.
one option, and like I said, we've had, you know, just information that we've looked at leasing space.
Can I ask this question? Do you care to build an indoor facility?
I think having a space for indoor programming is good.
Okay,
I don't know that I don't know that has to be a facility that we build or an existing facility that we can utilize,
I agree, which is why we looked at trying to see about leasing space.
which is what I'd like to see the information so I can actually compare those. It's
Sure.
in your head, it might be in staff's heads. I don't have any of that information.
So on the surface, if the cost to the city is, let's just use arbitrary numbers, if it's $1,200 a month, does it make sense to put that $1,200 a month into a business that is not the city's or into city facilities that we would have complete control of?
You know, I would want it to make sure that it's in whatever's going to be in the best interest of the community, and I'm not as concerned about control as some folks might be. If there's a good facility in the community that's underutilized, that we could be utilizing rather than building something new,
There
I
is.
like that. If there's a way we can partner with somebody else in the community, I personally like that.
I have no issue. In fact, that was the direction that we initially went to seek. Is there available space in the community already instead of the city taking on this burden? The problem with it is that I see is it opens the city up to additional liability for the building that we might lease, considering that none of the current property owners are willing to sign a triple net lease. So in
Strictly financials point of view, I'll relate this to my business.
please do.
I need some parts made. I can hire a company to do it for $1,200, or I can do it in-house for $1,200. I'm going to do it in-house for $1,200. Because then that's an investment in my company. In this case, it's an investment in our city rather than an investment in somebody else's building.
But
Fair
If the
there's
price is the
also-
same, it makes sense to do it in-house.
But there's also an opportunity cost, which is, in this case, it would be taking that $250,000, which if that's really what we have and it's free and clear to do whatever we want with it, I'll just echo what John said, which is also in that master plan, is we have a backlog of maintenance that we have not been able to catch up with yet.
Won't this building be adding to that maintenance at some point?
Exactly.
Indeed, it would add to maintenance of overall, but I would say in the position where we were when we wrote the master plan, the amount of deferred maintenance has been significantly reduced.
But we've been talking about updating the plan, right? And we spent a meeting
Indeed.
going through that. And shouldn't we do that before making a decision to build?
That's
new
completely
building?
up to this committee and the city council's determination. I'm simply presenting to you an opportunity that is available to you to do something that the community has been asking for the entire time that I have lived here, which is nearly 20 years. If the committee and the council is uninterested in pursuing this, that's on you. My job is to present to you all opportunities to accommodate the services that our community is asking for. At the same time, if you're unwilling to find a space or you want to wait to do a master plan, that's certainly well within your discretion. But you simply delay the issue further down the road.
We also have to see that if we rent a place, we are depending on them. We're creating programs for the community. And then if all of a sudden they're like, okay, you guys are done, what's going to happen with all these programs that the city has already spent a lot of time and effort to get these to them? Where are we going to go?
I would just submit that if the council and this body is uninterested in creating indoor space, I'm not really sure why we have a superintendent. All we would really need is a pool manager, because that's really the only programming we really do.
Mike, I think you're being a little melodramatic.
Maybe, but we are at a point where we can't do additional programming because we're limited by space.
Can I ask, the space that you're looking for, 25 by 45, without the bathrooms and whatnot, that's basically this room? It's even smaller in this room, I think.
So this room is limited essentially by half of this room. And of course, when we went to build this, we originally wanted it to be a third bigger. We didn't have the funding, so everything was reduced.
I'm just trying to
But
to
it's
spatially give you an
essentially
idea
about the size of this,
of
maybe
what-
slightly
of
bigger.
what you're talking about, because once again, and I'm on the fence on this. I honestly am. But I mean, the size of the facility you're talking about, it's going to really limit what you can do in there also.
Indeed, it's a mini rec center, which would allow us to do programming that is not necessarily sports related, but all the other programming that we do. Well, you could do some tumbling for toddlers and things that are currently programming that's currently not currently available.
The 400K is just for the building.
Correct.
And then there's an estimation on filling the building with whatever is another 50K, let's say, just off the top of my head,
Sure.
right? So 450.
By filling it, you mean the
I
equipment?
assume you mean equipment and things.
Equipment, chairs, tables, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever's necessary to fulfill whatever programs we're going to have going on. And like I said, it has to be maintained, the building, right? Systems and everything else.
My recommendation to the committee here is to table the issue until next meeting. Go talk to your constituents and see what they think. In the meantime, we can have staff bring the additional information to you so you can make a more informed decision.
Well, the other question I guess I had was, part of this was, asking staff to give us more information, but what is the cost to hire an architect and that type of stuff?
Well, I think we could set that to not to exceed an amount if you want, but I suspect between 15 and 20K would well more than pay for anything that needs to be done.
And
And-
engineering too?
Do we have any idea how long it's going to take to build this facility?
My guess, without knowing all the details, because one of the pieces that needs to be done is engineers need to, because there is some, it's on a hill there. There's part of a hill. So what earthwork needs to be done, because it needs to be a frost-proof foundation. So I can't answer that question without an engineer actually going through and giving us more than the plans that you have before.
Okay, but it's not going to be built in time to do all the programming that's out there for next year.
I don't believe so. I think the fastest, assuming all the things aligned, probably the fastest it could be built and open would be sometime next year, this time next year.
But we have space lined up for everything we got planned for next year?
We have everything, we have space lined up for the programming we have scheduled through April.
I suspect once this plan gets approved by the city council, it would take less than a year.
It may very well
This-
be.
Just judging by the size of that building and based on the drawing that was included, this is basically a prefab building. So I'm going to compare it to my shop, and that was built, and it's much larger than this. I'm thinking it was about 6 to 8 months. So I don't think it would take a year.
I don't think so either, but, I would defer that to the engineer to give us a true answer.
Municipal project, so that always adds a little bit.
At the end of the day, depending upon this body and council's decision in the matter, probably the fastest anything could even begin would be spring, obviously. So, my guess is it would take, to get through council and for you guys all to decide, several months of kicking this back and forth, and plus time, whatever it takes for engineers to provide, an architect provide real plans. It's possible, if it's 6 months, it could still, construction start sometime in the summer, be done this time next year. So I'd say this time next year is kind of a time period that you could kind of think about. It might happen should all those things align.
Well, I'll make a motion that we move this matter to next month, and that the staff be directed to provide us with more information on the alternatives of lease versus build, and then also including additional expenses beyond the just building the building, but outfitting it, and then annual maintenance costs if we were to build.
Okay?
Second.
Are you making the second? Or?
I'm making a second.
Okay.
Now I know I can. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0, motion carries. Moving on to the Parks and Recreation Department report.
All right,
That's real loud. Okay. So we have just a couple programs running currently. The Travel Basketball League is running, so huge thank you to all.
Excuse me a second. Let the record show that Lisa Haderlein has left the building and the meeting.
All right. So I just wanted to thank all of our volunteer coaches that are coaching basketball this season. They've been super flexible and really helpful in recruiting players and things, so thank you to all of them. We do have a handful of holiday-related programs and events coming up. So we have part of Christmas in Harvard is the Eggnog Jog and the Gingerbread Showdown. So there's Facebook posts and things on the city website and on our rec registration website, all about those. Also, we just announced a holiday home decorating contest. So registration for that opens up after Thanksgiving. And a holiday gift-making class for kids to learn how to do glass etching. So that's a new one that we just announced too, and there's already one person registered for that. So hopefully that one fills up pretty good. And then I just listed some of the winter and spring offerings that will be listed in the activity guide. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but the activity guide was sent to the printer today. So they're working on getting a draft and stuff for me, so that's finally going for real. For the holiday events, Eggnog Jog and Gingerbread Showdown, I'm hoping to get some volunteers to help with check-in or to act as like crossing guards kind of during the Eggnog Jog especially.
You got my name on there?
Yes, I had you in mind.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. So if anybody out there or in here is interested, please just get a hold of me and we can chat more about that. The pool is winterized. Pool Blue was out to do their part of it, and then Hartwig was out to do their part of it last week and the week before. So that is all set. We will continue to work to get the mechanicals up to standards over the winter, so we'll do what we can with what we have available. And then on here it just says that we still will have some more items to discuss for the next budget year. But we'll do what we can for now. Also, all the park bathrooms are winterized and locked for the season, so those are ready to go for the winter.
Stacy, did we get
Yes.
signage on them to let people know that they're winterized and closed?
No, that's on my to-do list though, so I'm
Okay.
gonna do that this week.
Great, thank you.
Lions Park Path, we've discussed at previous meetings, but that project has been postponed until engineering can be completed. And then just something kind of fun, I spoke at Career Day at Jefferson School last week, and just talked about what I do for my job and how they can get involved, even as kids or when they're old enough to get jobs and things like that. So that was a lot of fun, so thank you to Jefferson for inviting me. And that's all I have.
I had a question on the basketball. We were having problems last year getting facilities and funding, weren't we? We didn't have those problems this year at all?
Turn it back on.
Mike,
We have a couple corporate sponsors that their sponsorship covered almost all of the cost of the facility rentals, so that was really great.
and we're renting that from the school district?
Yes. Yeah, we're at the high school and at Jefferson.
Is the eggnog jog, is that the same path as last year?
I don't know what the path was last year, so probably
It's
not.
similar.
route?
Stacy showed me at least a first draft, and it's pretty close to what we did last year.
Are you running, Alderman?
What's that?
Are you going to participate?
Yes, I am.
All right, good.
Did you,
I'm
did
not
you
gonna be
register?
running though.
Did you register already? Make
Huh?
sure you register.
I think my wife registered us,
Okay.
or registered
You have to
me
register in advance.
without my
Can't do it the
knowledge.
day of.
Okay. Any questions for Stacy? Nope. All right. Thank you. Mayor's report.
The only thing I really want to highlight is the Christmas in Harvard that's coming up. Well, actually, there's two things related to that. One is Festival of the Trees So Sandra Alcor, I think is
Alcazar.
Alcazar is again heading up that program, and if you're interested, please reach out to her to sponsor a tree or decorate a tree, or if you want to help install trees, she could certainly use help with that. And then, pardon me?
They still have some.
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not touched base with her to find out if there's any trees still available or not. So, and then secondly is Christmas in Harvard the day of, our Mildred's Parade. They are still accepting applications for the parade. Would certainly like to encourage the community to participate. And it'd be great if some of our alderpersons participated, just so that we had a good turnout. The lighting of the tree will be after the parade for the official city's tree at 5 Points. And then Mr. and Mrs. Claus, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus will be at the CHP Community Health Partnership Clinic after the parade, and they'll be doing cookies and hot chocolate. And it's the Christmas in Harvard is an amalgamation of lots of entities within the community that are making this happen, between the library, Brown Bear Daycare, the Historical Society, the Starline, CHP, Ports of City doing the eggnog jog. So we really hope everybody will participate, and we appreciate all those entities that are helping make this, bring this to come to the community. So, and of course, Milk Days, who took over the parade, so they have the applications for the parade route. So you need to go to milkdays.com or to their Facebook page to get that application. That's all I have.
Moving on to the strategic vision. Last time I left it for us to individually go through the survey and update it, suggestions for update. Suppose anybody did that. That's kind of what I thought. Well, I did. And it seems to me that the survey is very general. Do you like is there a problem with the maintenance of the parks, right? And there's no, it could be one resident, has a hang with his park, right? And all the rest of them are fine. So, I was thinking that in some of this should be broken out. Parks should each individually be broken out, and the questions be asked about each individual park. That way, we would get a better idea of what the residents think about those individual parks. And some, may not know, and that's fine too.
Sure.
'Cause I'd rather talk to the people that actually use those parks, or get survey answers from the people that actually use those parks, than from me over in Oak Grove, commenting about Country Brook that, I've only been there a couple times. So,
Yeah.
So I think that might be
I think that's a great idea.
Maybe the, a new survey will have it broken out into sections, by park. And that would allow you then to.
I mean, some of them are
collect that
general
data.
questions that could be generally.
Sure.
But I really do think some of them we'd get a better idea. The other question I had was, wasn't there a Google Drive or something at one time of all the different,
Ryan had started a Google Drive that had all the various documents and spreadsheets.
is that still available? I couldn't find it.
I have to get on a computer to find it.
Let's look.
I was looking on the website, I could not find it.
I don't know that it was ever on the city website.
Was that Ryan's? Something
I'm
like
pretty
that?
sure it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if if they're here or not.
I'll bet it's there, it just may not be linked from the city.
They're where? The drive still exists somewhere?
Yeah, I'm certain that the data still exists on the drive, but whether there's a link to access the drive, that's the question. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Well, we can get you guys links to be able to access that info.
I was just curious, 'cause it might be a, nothing else, a jumping off point.
Sure.
I did go through some old park board minutes, I went back to 2018, and they talk about a bunch of different, improvements they want to get made, and most of those didn't happen. I go back to, so anyway, I would like to, get a starting point, if you will. Or we can, do our own. I don't care. I just,
I'm certain that the data still exists. The question is whether, how do we?
I believe it,
access
yeah, it is there. I can find it, I just can't access it right now. I'm not logged into the right account. So it is there.
all right, well, if we get to come up with that, that'd be
Okay.
great. Also, do we know, is this old survey, is there a writable somewhere? A writable copy?
Oh, a writable copy.
That's what I took all the questions from.
Was it writable?
I had a copy of it.
I thought it was just a PDF or something.
PDF's writable. Or can be converted to
I guess it
a
could.
Word.
You mean editable is what you're-
Editable,
yes,
editable,
editable.
editable. Yes.
I think the original is not in PDF form, and it's probably on the Google Drive, but we'd have to research that.
That'd be easier, I guess, then.
It would be, and obviously,
If not, I
we
can
wouldn't
convert
want to
to
do the
PDF.
exact same, survey, I don't
No,
think.
no, no, that's what I'm just saying. is
But
it'd be-
using it to,
I could edit
yeah,
it.
edit it, yeah. Do you have the interest in wanting to do some of that editing?
No, but I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll have some time, the next month and a half or so,
Okay.
over the holidays,
Can you
basically.
make a note that we find linked? Perfect, thank you. And we'll send it to the entire community.
Okay, that's all I had for strategic vision. Anybody else have anything? No? Okay, well, maybe next time we can get into it further.
Well, I would just add maybe, this body's talked about updating the master parks plan.
Yes.
Maybe it's about putting a stake in the sand to do that at some point. Set a time when you want to
Yes, and that was
accomplish that.
well, that was, we started going through the old one.
Right?
We got to this survey.
Yes.
We hit a bit of a roadblock. We were gonna fix the survey. So.
Kind of use that as a starting point for the next master plan, I
Yes,
think, yeah.
but we have to get the survey out.
Right. So my recommendation is, if you start setting some deadlines of when you want to accomplish the things, it kind of gives you the motivation to actually do it. Because it's really easy, you come to these meetings and like, I never got to it, and it gets pushed off to the next month, and
I know.
that's happened in all of our meetings. It happens from time to time. So, trying to
When's
create
the budget's in February, right?
February, yes, February. So, maybe the answer is that because the survey, I think, is going to give you additional data to put into the parks plan, or at least guide you on how you want that plan to evolve. Maybe the answer is, you plan to have a survey out to the community in the next fiscal year, and at the end of that, when you have that data, then allows you to engage and begin creating the plan. So going into budget cycle in February, maybe you plan to actually do the master plan and set aside some budget to be able to accomplish that. Because that kind of puts a stake in the sand that, you know, in the next fiscal year, you're going to do the plan.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
All right, well, yeah, but, okay.
So that, you know, feasibly would give you, you know, 15 months to complete a plan. If it really
Well, complete plan that really just build off the plan we have.
Yes,
We don't
yes.
have to come up with a new plan.
Agreed. I think you revise the plan. that you
Revise the
have.
plan.
Yes.
Okay. We have that in a editable version also, the old plan?
Good question. That I do not know, because the plan, you know, we engaged Camaros to create that.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if they gave us an editable copy or it was just straight up.
A lot of these, I can turn from a PDF to a Word doc with varying levels of success.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think the city does own a program to be able to break apart a PDF to edit. So
When were you thinking sending out the survey? Winter would be great, I think, because people are sitting at home because it's cold.
But are they thinking about parks? You've got a point, I agree, but, and certainly after the holidays.
February? February be okay? Think we can get it done by then? We haven't made it so far.
We'll try. We have to convert it into Spanish too for the Spanish community, but I think so. I mean,
Google Translate.
no, don't use that. It's horrible.
Well, let's shoot for an English version by February.
you know, once you have an English version, staff can translate it. So that's you know,
Okay.
you know, obviously you want to work in English since that's your language, and then once that's completed, you know, staff.
I'd love to have a rough draft in January and have it finalized in February at the January Parks meeting. A rough draft. And
What's your plans for next? Well, we're not quite there yet, but in terms, that's item 10. But you know, recognize City Council only has is meeting on the 10th
of December.
December.
Oh, that's right.
That's why it's TBD, okay.
Yeah.
Most of the committees, I do not believe, are meeting in December because of the holidays. But that's up to you.
Council meeting is on the 10th,
I believe so. Yes.
same day as the We're gonna have
Yeah, the foundation will have to move.
That's what I mean.
Well, why don't we TBD the December meeting?
Okay.
If like I said, if I could get the editable version of this here in the next week or two, I might be able to put something together for a quick review in December if everyone's available. Or I could send it out, be emailing and look at it that way. I don't care.
Either would work, and then you could come and, you know, hash it out in the January meeting.
All right, let's TBD that for now also. But we're not there yet, so we'll talk about that later. New business? Do we have any new business? Okay. Next meeting, we may or may not have a meeting in December. It wouldn't, if we do have one, it won't be till after the council meeting anyway, and we'll decide at the council meeting if we want to meet next week or so before Christmas,
Okay.
if that works.
Normal schedule would be the 16th.
All right, we can tentatively pencil in the 16th, and
Okay.
we'll decide at the meeting if we're actually going to have it,
All right. That's fair.
at the council meeting.
Yes, because then you'll have more members of the save, Pep and Scott. Council members for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Motion adjourned?
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.
Right, thank you.
That's all.